We're back here with the 1968 Fender Super Reverb, all original, beautiful piece. We've done a bunch of work to it already. Replaced all of the cathode bypass caps, stuffed the bias capacitor here, replaced the biasing resistor. So yeah, we're making steady progress, and kind of the last pieces we wanted to take care of before we finally turn it on and see what's going on are replacing these 4 resistors here. They all measure too far out of tolerance. That's a very critical area in the circuit. You can see they have a gold band on them, whereas the rest have a silver band, which means they're meant to have a tighter tolerance, and they're way beyond that tolerance level. So unfortunately, they need to be replaced, but no big deal. We have carbon comp replacements, so it'll be effectively the same as it was from the factory. So let's get to work. Just want to show real quick where we're pulling these. So you can see this is an 82K. The gray is 8, red is 2, and then the orange is times 1000. So 82K gold band, meaning it should be within 5% of 82,000 ohms, and we're seeing it's at 123, almost 124K. So significantly out of tolerance, way out of tolerance. And with a gold band resistor, it's supposed to be very, very close in this particular position, as well as these two up here. They are gold band for a reason. So we will be replacing that with this 82K, which is measuring 86K. So that is perfectly within tolerance and will be much better. All right, that looks really good. So we can go ahead and move on to the 220Ks. And then, yeah, we'll be in good shape. All right, that looks pretty good. We'll circle back to confirm that's all working all right with voltage through the amplifier. But for now, we can go ahead and move on to the 3-prong. So we'll go ahead and undo both ends here and then get the new 3-prong prepped. Alrighty, so we got the 3-prong install done. Just to quickly run you through how to do it. I've got a video dedicated to this, and I will put it up in the corner of the video now. But you want to do the ground connection, the earth connection to the chassis itself, not connected to a bolt like this. This is to ensure a very solid connection. You just need a big soldering iron to do it. And a little bit of practice, it's not too hard. And then we've got the hot and neutral both going to the courtesy outlet there. You can see that. And I've got connected to the neutral one end of the primaries off of the power transformer here. So one of the black wires, one of those is going to the switch. The other one is going to the junction of the courtesy outlet with the white neutral. And then the hot, the black wire here, is going to the other end of the courtesy outlet. And from there, we've got a wire, a stock original wire running from there to this junction of the ground switch, which is not in circuit right now. And doesn't seem like it's ever been, that was quite stiff. And we got the death cap removed too. I know people always ask about that. That's kind of a buzzword. It's not in circuit, but it will be removed. And then, so we got a wire from there, the hot wire to here, and then from here, another wire running right here to the fuse tip. And then the fuse sleeve is going to the other end of the switch. So again, I have a video dedicated to that in more detail, but that's the high level of how it's done. So with all of that done, we are ready to finally turn the amplifier on. Now it's probably too late to do much now, so this might be a tomorrow thing, but yeah, looking pretty good so far. So we've got the amp plugged in to the current limiter off screen, and then the current limiter is plugged into my Variac. I've got no tubes in it. This multimeter is watching the bias supply. And then this one will just be confirming AC voltage, and then we'll check for high voltage later. So let's go ahead and slowly bring it up and see what happens. We've got about 5 volts on the Variac, showing 5 volts here at the fuse sleeve, so that's correct. Can switch over to DC volts. Now we can see we're already getting negative bias there, which is good. All right, that's 120 volts from the wall. Looks like the bias supply is showing negative 46, which is pretty much exactly what I would have expected. We should see similar here and here. And we do. Same thing. This is where it's all connected. Yep. So all of that looks good. Now we can go ahead and transition to putting in a tube rectifier and repeating the process, slowly bring it up just to make sure there's nothing unhappy anywhere. If I remember to do this, I'll put up the chart I found online of kind of the differences between the various common rectifiers, tube rectifiers you see, and why the 5E4 is not a good fit for this amplifier. Hopefully I'll remember to do that. But yeah, in short, the GZ34 slow warm up, I believe it's a 2 amp draw. All right, 120 volts from the wall. Nothing on the current limiter. We're showing 481 volts coming right off of here off the tube rectifier. And then we can see over here the bias supply is showing negative 44.5, which should be about the same on this side, which it is. So everything is looking good so far. I'm going to go ahead and grab some power tubes. And there's 120 volts from the wall. So we got the current limiter plugged in still, which is throwing off the bias a bit. But yeah, I'm seeing no issues so far. Everything looks good. See if we get anything funky from the preamp tubes to mirror what the owner said, if it wasn't already fixed by the resistor swaps and cap swaps we've already done. Okay, so that is 120 volts from the wall with the current limiter still in chain. And I can hear the amp humming in the background. Definitely got output. Scratchy pot here on the normal channel. No big deal. Scratchy pot on the volume or the reverb control. And that's about it. So that's pretty great, honestly. The the amp seems to be alive and well. We haven't played it yet, but you know, just having that early signs of life is very good. So next steps, it's far too late to do anything tonight. I don't want to wake anybody up, but tomorrow we'll go ahead and clean out all of the pots. Actually, I'll probably just do that tonight before I go to bed. And then tomorrow we'll plug a guitar into it and make sure it's sounding okay and see if we can replicate the owner's issues, though I'm guessing they were fixed by all of the work we've already done. I did also rearrange the tubes slightly, and we have a different rectifier in it. So any one of those things could be contributing to fixing the issue the owner described. But yeah, things are looking promising so far. So let's pick it up tomorrow. This pot appears to be loose, not a solid ground connection, so I have to tighten that pot. No big deal. Awesome. The amp seems to work just fine so far. I had to rearrange the order of the tubes a little bit since some of them were a little fussy, but it seems to be okay. Sounds beautiful. I'm really curious to see how similar it is to mine. First glance, this one might even sound better, to be honest. It's definitely got nicer tubes in it. But yeah, no, it sounds really good. It's got same speakers too. It's got one swap speaker just like mine. So I have had a chance to play the amp for several hours now, just letting it run as well as playing it, and it's sounding great. Really, really happy with it so far. There were a couple things that really got in a good place that we had to do. The first was cleaning all of the pots, which I already alluded to. And the second was just going through and testing all of the tubes and rearranging the order a little bit and trying to figure out, what's good and what's not. So basically we discovered there were 3 tubes that are quite bad in the amp. The Sylvania, which is now in V5. I can't remember where it was originally, but I put in V5, is extraordinarily microphonic, so it did not work in any other position in the amplifier. However, V5 is the tremolo tube in an AB763 amp like this, and has no effect on the tone, and microphonics don't matter there. So we threw it in V5, totally fine. And then we had the Amperex and the RCA tube. Both of those were bad. The RCA caused a popping noise that always happened when I turned the amp on, no matter what position I put it in. Identified that was the tube specifically that was doing that. So that one's out. And then the Amperex is very microphonic as well, and just not really a good fit for anywhere else in the amp. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but to be expected with old tubes like that and it being a mismatch. No big deal. So I put in a couple newer tubes I have that seem to be working just fine in various positions, just kind of optimized for what I thought sounded the best. And it's sounding really good now. The only other thing to note, and I do have the amp on right now, so I'll show you, is the bias. So using my handy Weber bias right here, we've got A, which is this tube socket, and B, which is this tube socket. They're both the, as far as I know, original 6L6 tubes. We can see the plate voltage here for A, for B, the same. Now, if I press this switch down here, this is going to show our milliamps. And so if I go, this is round B, this tube right here, 41. And this is to check the bias. And then tube A is 53. So a significant difference between the two tubes. They're now, the amp is biased right now so that this tube, which is much hotter than this tube, is still in a safe zone. I think I have it biased around 75%, 70%, somewhere in that range, which means this one's a bit cool, this one's a bit hot. Normally, you would probably want to swap those for a more even pair that will introduce some extra noise with an imbalance like that. But the amp sounds okay to me. It sounds fine. So I'm not really worried about it. The owner will see this and I'll talk to him just to recommend getting some new tubes, but it's not the end of the world. And yeah, just kind of worth noting. It's interesting because they're an original pair. So I'm a bit surprised by how different they are. It's about a 20% difference in the plate dissipation when it was all said and done when I measured it earlier. So yeah, just kind of something to note there. But other than that, this thing is solid. The tremolo too is kind of weak. I mean, it's totally serviceable. It's just not crazy deep when you go up to 10. The speed is fine in my opinion, but the intensity is a little weak. Probably the original Roach, but the owner, I'm guessing, is not going to want to swap that. If it works, that's good enough for him. So with that, we are all done with this project. Really happy with how everything came out. This is such a cool amp, and it was a real pleasure to be able to work on it. So yeah, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, let me know in the comments. And until next time, see ya.